guys, welcome back to this channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about cramps. So I always get questions about people and how to reduce your menstrual cramps, and I want to kind of explain why you have them so that you can understand where they're coming from, and then I'll say how to reduce them. So cramps are coming from the lining of your uterus. So as your period is building, the endometrial lining, which doesn't have anything to do with endometriosis, it's just the lining of your uterus, it's called the endometrial lining. That lining builds, and that's building because of estrogen in your cycle. So as you come into ovulation, your lining is being built, and then progesterone holds your lining together, and then when progesterone falls, that's when you get your period. Now, there's these things called prostaglandins, and prostaglandins are just inflammatory compounds, and we all have a little bit of them, and they build up in your endometrial lining as your cycle goes. Now, a little bit of them is fine because that's just natural and that's what happens, but a lot of them is what causes the bad cramps. Basically, they cause your blood vessels to constrict, which is what gives you your cramps, and that's why magnesium can be quite calming to them because it helps relax the blood vessels and the muscles. So prostaglandins are inflammatory compounds, which means that the best way to reduce your amount of prostaglandins that you have is to reduce inflammation. And this is all the time, without doubt, reducing inflammation in your body is going to reduce the number of prostaglandins that are being made each cycle. So the best ways to reduce inflammation is to, of course, have turmeric in your diet. That's really anti-inflammatory. You want to be cutting out the gluten. Gluten's really inflammatory to your body. In fact, no human actually has the ability to digest gluten, especially the gluten that's found, in the foods and stuff these days. It's so different to the actual natural crop. You also want to possibly be reducing dairy. So dairy has something called A1 casein in it, and this casein is found in cow's dairy specifically, and it's very anti-inflammatory. So you want to also reduce dairy. Now, what I say to my clients is that if you need to have a bit of hard cheese to keep you sane on your spag bowl with zoodles, if possible, your liver spag bowl with zoodles, then go for having a bit of hard cheese on top of your pasta, but really try and get rid of the cream and the milk and the soft cheeses because they have a very high level of the A1 casein, okay? And then of course you also want to be really cutting out the sugar, and this includes too much natural sugar. So I have talked about this before on an Instagram live, but even the natural sugars can be too much. Sugar is sugar. Whether you are eating high fructose corn syrup or, honey, it might look different from the outside, but it's not different on the inside. So once you put it in your mouth, your body registers it the exact same way, no matter whether it's maple syrup or whether it's, mass manufactured crap from a factory. So even if you're having a lot of natural sugar, it still could be too much sugar and too much fructose for your liver. Your liver can only actually deal with about 5 to 6 teaspoons of sugar a day. This is for women, a tiny bit more for men. So, and then once you go over that threshold, that's where your liver starts to really struggle, and then it can convert this fructose straight into fat, and that's where even the fatty liver disease can come up, and that's why we're seeing it in children, because it's not from alcohol or anything, it's actually from too much fructose. So you want to really be monitoring the amount of sugar that you're having, especially those hidden sugars. And then, for some people also, having a lot of grains can be really inflammatory to their body because it can disrupt their gut lining, and once their gut lining is disrupted, little bits of particles can go through the gut lining. So the lining of your gut sits together like all these little junctions close together, but when you start to destroy the gut lining, the junctions come apart and there's gaps, and those gaps allows for food particles to go through. Then as they go through the gut lining, they're running around in your bloodstream, and your body realizes, your body basically thinks they're invaders, even though it's just a bit of gluten or whatever and it's not going to kill you. Your body thinks it's an invader, so it starts to attack the invader, which releases an inflammatory response all through your body, and this is where the autoimmune diseases can come up. So you also want to be reducing things that disrupt your gut. So too many grains, too many nuts and seeds that aren't activated, the sugar, the gluten, the dairy, all of those sort of things. And you want to be really focusing on eating a lot more, drinking a lot more bone broth, having more collagen-rich foods rich in glycine and gelatin. You want to be eating lots of veggies. The fiber in the veggies is really good for your digestive tract, but also all of the nutrients in the veggies are really anti-inflammatory. And of course you want to be taking magnesium. So magnesium is very anti-inflammatory, and unfortunately our soils are really deficient these days. And because they're so deficient, we're not getting adequate magnesium in our body. And the problem is that every time we are stressed, our body actually uses our magnesium when we're stressed. But then we become magnesium deficient, and that stresses our body out, which uses more magnesium. So it's this vicious cycle. So I'd really highly recommend supplementing with some magnesium glycinate, and I will tag the one that I use in the bio in the description. They don't sponsor me or anything. It's just the one that I use and I really like, because I don't like the powder. It's disgusting. So I'd also be really taking some magnesium, and this can really help with your cramps as well when they come on straight away. You should notice a difference straight away when you take magnesium, or having a magnesium bath can also really help with your cramps. So that's sort of in a nutshell where your cramps are coming from, and a few things you can do to help reduce your cramps. But just remember, cramps are made from the prostaglandins, which are inflammatory compounds. So you want to be reducing your inflammation in your body. And for any of you that do not follow me on Instagram, you might not be aware of this, but I am bringing my first course out at the beginning of October, end of September, and it's going to be all about getting rid of your PMS, so your cramps and all that sort of stuff, your bloating, your fatigue, your headaches. If you've got PCOS, it's also going to be about putting your PCOS in remission, and if you have endometriosis, it's also going to be about putting your endo in remission. So any of those painful period stuff, this is going to be in this amazing jam-packed filled course. It's going to have so much information, everything I know about getting rid of your PMS and reducing your symptoms of PCOS and endometriosis. It's quite the tongue twister. It's going to be all in this course. So if you are interested, I only have availability for 10 beautiful women. So if you are like, yes, I need this in my life, I'm struggling, please send me an email, hello@monicayates.com.au, or you can DM me on Instagram, which is @MonicaYatesHealth. Either or, I will be ready to answer your questions, and I hope to see you sometime soon. As per usual, you can follow me on Instagram, you can sign up for my email newsletter, which I've got some awesome freebies, and yeah, I will see you in my next video. Of course, email me with any questions that you've got.